Absolutely. Good morning, my name is Jason Bowman. I'm Matt's campaign manager. I want to just go over some really quick rules for the press conference and then spell some names for you, and then we'll get started. So Don is our board candidate for Alderman. We're going to have him start the conversation, followed by Stephen Tang. Stephen, S-T-E-P-H-E-N, Tang, T-A-N-G, a representative of the Chinese community here in Chicago. And then finally, we have Bert Olson, Bert B-U-R-T, Olson, O-D-E-L-S-O-N, of Olson, Sturp, Murphy, Fraser, McGrath. Olson, O-D-E-L-S-O-N, Sturp, S-T-E-R-K, Murphy with an E, so M-U-R-P-H-E-Y, Fraser, F-R-A-Z-I-E-R, and McGrath, M-C-G-R-A-T-H. Hopefully you got all that. We're going to hold questions till the end. This part is my pleasure to introduce on that.
Morning, thank you for coming, everyone. I apologize if I look a bit tired. I was at a very challenging fire yesterday at a lake park. Fortunately, one person lost their life. I'm going to fire department responded. Did good work to that fire thing. So we went to the Red Cross. They were on scene yesterday, helping with the space residents. I would say that to support those people. From what I'm being told, this is a historic moment. It's a historic moment for moment in history for Illinois elections. It was the first time a Chinese character has ever appeared on the ballot in the state of Illinois. 200 years of Illinois election history. I'm very proud of that. I don't think that's what we intended when we first started, or we considered that. I think we were definitely making history as a regular working class person, and history, maybe sort of we. But I'm very happy that that's Chinese community and one of the board can deal with some speaking to them. This would be a good moment moving forward. Campaigns, election history, there's other communities that like try to assess this process. It was a risk at the moment when we first discussed it, and we went back and forth with this. I remember we heard had many moments where it was like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" I mean, I remember you called me on. We were in the house in the hills of Pennsylvania, driving my son to New York for college. We went back and forth about this might be a good thing to do. I'm glad we did it. If you don't try, you'll never know if it will ever be successful. So I mean, we gave it a shot. It was a risk because we were a challenge process. It's never been done before. So thank you for urging staff for doing the research on it and trying to find the answer. Glad you helped me in that. Glad we're here today. But, a little background on me. I should have said this again. Married, father of three. My parents are here. My lovely wife Raquel is here. My 3 kids, neighborhood kids. Child firefighter, 1 years in the job. It's a big part of who I am. And being involved in the community is a big part of who I am. So right now, it's we're going to do the work, focus on the issues, and we're going to continue to carry on positive things for this community as we move forward. Whether it's safer streets, better schools, stronger communities, that's my primary focus. So, thank you for attending. I'll pass it off now to Stephen, who's a very active community member in this community. I can't have anyone else that speak for this community for Stephen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stephen Tang. I'm a lifetime resident of Chicago in the 11th Ward here, which now recently included our Chicago's Chinatown. And on behalf of the Chicago Chinese community, we are very excited to see a Chinese character in the inclusion of the municipal general election ballot. Our last names are carried on from generations to generations. And I certainly hope that this Don Don's historic feat paves the ways for others. Thank you. And I'd like to introduce Bert Otteson.
Thank you for coming today. As a veteran of the election law battles in Chicago, Cook County, and Illinois, this is one of my proudest moments, my firm's proudest moments, because we feel, as Don felt, this paves the way for more participation by the Asian community, by an understanding of the ballot, by feeling comfortable with the ballot. Chicago has long put out specimen ballots with the instructions at the top in Chinese in 11 different languages, but never in Illinois history and throughout almost all of the United States has a Chinese character been put next to the English name. We feel in this day of people not wanting to vote and going to the ballot, this will encourage people coming out to vote, especially for Don Don. It was difficult, as Don said, because I wanted to be sure that we would not be challenged and removed from the ballot. So it was a bit risky, but we did a lot of homework, a lot of background. We made sure that that Don name was and the character was the literal translation in Chinese. We used his parents' marriage certificate and other documents, and we had Atlas translating services, a very widely used translating services, verified by affidavit that the symbol next to Don Don's name is his heritage, is his name. So I think this will be just the start, that Don has paved the way for other Chinese and perhaps other minorities in Chicago and elsewhere to identify themselves and their background and who they are. I hope the Chinese community in the 11th Ward looks favorably, comes out and votes for a firefighter, a leader. Thank you.
I don't think that was on. So, all right. At this time, I want to open, if anyone has any questions, make Don and Bert and even Steve, if you want, available for any questions.
I have a question. So my name is Michelle. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, 84 years old, Chinese media around the world. So my question is this the first time Donald have his last name on it? How you guys do it?
How did we do it?
Yeah, how you do it with the
We made sure that the symbol, the character, did translate to Don, and that is the Chinese translation for Don.
Yeah, that's his last name.
His last name. That is correct. So actually, we started with two Chinese symbols, but the translator didn't feel comfortable with both symbols, but the last symbol that we put on the ballot is the last name of Don and his parents. So I wanted to make sure, as I said, that when we did this, we would not be challenged, and if challenged, we'd be successful in keeping him on the ballot. And as it turns out, we were not challenged. So here we are today.
But I want to say, Bert actually wanted us to be challenged. And me as a candidate, I always say, no one wants to get challenged. That's the last thing you want.
Yeah.
But Bert, since he's, how many years, 50 years?
50 years, yeah.
50 years in campaign election work, this was something different to him, and I felt that was what intrigued him to where he wanted to defend that challenge.
Yeah.
And I think, and he's very confident on it, and I have faith in him. When he said, "This is it, you're my campaign lawyer," I have to have faith in that person. right? At the end of the day, I can't do everything. I don't know everything. So when you need to know things, you bring in people with that expertise. And I was referred to Bert from a fellow friend, and I have to go with that faith if I have trust, right? But he really wanted the challenge. He was looking forward to the challenge, and initially we were thinking my full Chinese name, but the other characters meant for the people, which that's how it translates. So that we felt that might have been more what
A slogan.
a slogan more
you
than
can't
a
have it.
name.
Right.
So that's why we just with the last name, the Chinese character. I mean, this is a character that I have a lot of pride in because that's my family name. I mean, in our community, they base a lot of it based on the history of your name and your background. I mean, one of the descendants of this family name is the roots of where you come from and how long you've come. I mean, I forgot how many, like 80, 90 some generations that this name has descended from in Chinese history. And one of its top notable people is one of Confucius's students. And that was, that's how a lot of Chinese characters are.
I have several more general questions. Wondering if it makes more sense if we sit down for these. It's up to you, but.
No, go ahead.
Okay, maybe want me to repeat now. Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you think you're going to beat your opponents?
Why do you think you're going to beat your opponents? Because I feel I have a great perspective on what we need in this community. I mean, I've been active in this community. I've lived in this community. My wife's very active in this community, so I surround myself with good people. And if that's the motto is, if you surround yourself with good people, good things happen. And that's how I look at it. I think we can do better in this community. And I'm not running against anyone. I'm running for the people. Because that's who I am. I'm a grassroots, blue-collar, working-class person with no political background, no big money. I mean, a lot of these elections now have turned into the organizations and people that outside influences. But here I feel I have a good reach with the community based on the networks and the friends and family and the people I've worked with and support throughout this whole community. And that's how I feel I could win. By being that bridge, not only for the Chinese community, but for the whole community, because I have that stake in all the neighborhoods. I work, I live, I eat and play in this neighborhood in the 11th Ward. And that's all I know, and that's my focus. And I've seen over the years, there's many challenges that have not been addressed and focused on, and I feel we have to have someone put an honest focus on it. I'm gonna use my background as a firefighter. We're here to solve problems. You call us, we're here to solve a problem. So we have to identify those problems and work towards solving them. That's the biggest thing, and move on to the next one. And I'm gonna take that background and of what we're supposed to do. We're here to serve the people.
Do you have specific ideas or platforms or accomplishments regarding issues such as maybe public safety that you think make you appeal the most as a candidate?
Well, I'm one of the co-founders of the Neighborhood Watch. And that's a group of volunteers, never took money, was to advocate and educate our community on the importance of working together with the 9th District Police, calling 911, because there's many challenges there with the language barrier. I don't think people even realize what we're facing. The 914 police beat, which encompasses Chinatown to Bridgeport and Armour Square, is #1 in robberies in the whole entire city of Chicago for the last 2 years in a row. It's unbelievable. It's never talked about. It's almost like brushed aside. I don't know why, but we've been on the street working and helping our community face those challenges. And the biggest thing is calling 911. That was the start. And working together with the police department, advocating for the community. And when we first started, there was no Chinese speaking officers that ever responded to any calls. So there was a disconnect, and we learned a lot, and working together with the commanders of the 9th District and other officers, and we've identified and we've worked to rectify some of those challenges. So right now, I think we have 8 Chinese-speaking officers in the 9th District right now, which is a huge
thing, and I wasn't an elected official at the time, and we were able to advocate for that, so that's how I wanna, move forward, is continue the work that I've already been doing.
What do you think makes the 11th Ward race, especially a ward to watch this election cycle? You know, maybe a ward that speaks to where Chicago politics is heading?
I love this neighborhood. It's a very diverse neighborhood. I mean, people don't recognize that. I think we are one of the most diverse neighborhoods in the whole entire city, but it's never framed in that, with that narrative. We have, when you think about it, we have many people from different heritages, and we all want the same thing, right? We want safer schools, we want safer streets, better schools, stronger communities. And I feel like it's be that bridge with all the communities. I work in Bridgeport, in Canaryville. I live in Armour Square. I have history in Chinatown. I have family in McKinley Park. I mean, pretty much everything I know, or who I know, is pretty much the 11th Ward. And it's not just the Chinese side. I know people from all different nationalities throughout the ward that they treat me based on who I am and the type of person I am at the end of the day.
Can I add to that?
Sure.
So I think the question was, will this be one of the wards that are watched in the campaign? And the answer is definitely yes, because of the remap. Now, my office did partake in redrawing the wards in Chicago, and of course, this is the first time that the Chinese community are unified within one ward, mixed in with Bridgeport and Canaryville and some of the other traditional 11th Ward communities. This will be watched to see if our remapping was successful in putting the Chinese community together. So yes, this is on the scoreboard for one of the ones to watch to see how well the Chinese community turns out now that they have their own ward. So he is a big test case for remapping also.
Can you talk about the overall reputation or history of the 11th Ward being home to the, Chicago machine and the previous alderman being convicted and ousted from his seat? How that shadow kind of looms over this race, if at all, and whether that affects how you campaign?
No, I don't think so. I mean, as long as you have a connection to the people, that's the most important thing. I mean, getting out the vote is important. This is, like Bert said, a test for the Chinese community, which historically never come out and vote in the numbers. I mean, turnout is very low. And most of the time, because maybe they didn't know who the candidate was. But now, in this race, there's two Asian candidates, so I think turnout will increase. I think the enthusiasm is there, and I think people are actually paying attention to the candidates a little bit more. Now they have more options. This is 7 candidates in this race. I think that's the most, I don't even know how long, but it's always, the people will decide this election. Not necessarily one person, but the people will decide, and whoever gets their message out there and does the work and talks to the people, I think they'll win, and I'll live with that result of whatever that may be.
Okay, couple more. It used to be that those appointed by the mayor would have an incumbency advantage when the time comes for them to run to retain their seats. Do you think that's still the case under Mayor Lightfoot, and why or why not?
Well, I mean, there's 7 candidates running. I mean, just because you're in that office shouldn't mean that you are beholden. I mean, you're entitled. So I'm going to make the candidates work, and that's the thing. Whoever puts the work in, and they win, they've earned it. So that's the biggest part of it. I don't know if that part of if it's going to help or hurt. I don't know. With the mayor's appointment, I guess.
And specifically comparing yourself to the incumbent's record, what would you have done differently in the past 10 months? With respect to votes in city council or other services?
If I was appointed?
If you had been appointed, yeah. What do you disagree with her on?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what has been done, really. I mean, there's some things, the red line TIF, I think was a big factor, which was approved, which I'm not against that project one bit. But how it was funded is what I'm against. Because only 5 wards in the city of Chicago are gonna fund this project for the next 35 years, $950 million. And that's basically saying that we don't have any needs here, which we have many, because if you're from this community, you'll know that there's plenty of needs here. We have some of the, not only safety part, but the school part. We have some of the oldest infrastructure. My kids go to the oldest school in the CPS network, which is a James Ward School, 1874. When you think about that, it's almost 150 years old. Ulysses S. Grant was the president at the time. We were 3 years out of the Chicago fire. We're only 10 years, not even 10 years after the Civil War. And if you, the recent history or news, McClellan School on 35th and Wallace had lead paint issues. That school was built in 1881. So we have many infrastructure issues that should be addressed, but are not for some other reason. We've all had these issues. I don't know about every school, but we have at least 5 schools that were pretty much built in the 1800s. So not only the need for a high school, there's a lot of needs in this community. And I don't know, I'm not against the project for the extension of the red line, just how it's funded, because now we can't use that future tax TIF money or have something so we could use it for this community. It's being sent off somewhere else when we still have many needs here. So I think that would have been a big part of it. I would have fought that. Not the project. I'm not against the project, how it's funded, because the state is not funding any of it. It's literally, the city is funding this to get the matching grants from the federal dollars. So I think that would be the biggest one.
And then in terms of, you know, the incumbent seeking the endorsement of the dailies, do you think that is gonna make a big difference in the race at this point?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the Daly family and the 11th Ward Democratic Organization has been a big part of this community for many, many years. And the biggest part of this race is organization. That's why it's very difficult for a grassroots person, a person that doesn't have that background, to have that organization. And that's what we lack in the Chinese community, is that organization, is us working together, us coordinating. I mean, that's the biggest thing. If you were organized, you could go a lot further. So if there's already a organization in place and they're supporting her, yes, that gives her a little bit more of a bump up. But I feel we have a good reach with my network in the community. It's very informal. A lot of it's family and friends. And if they make the push for me and our base comes out to vote, I think we'll be in good shape.
Those are all my questions.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Well, thank you for listening and attending this press conference. Hopefully you learned a little bit more about the 11th Ward and some of the issues that pertain to this ward. And we'll see. Make sure you vote. That's the biggest thing, is we need voting. We need the people to decide who they want to represent them for their city council and for the mayor. If we do this together, we will make history. And we always said working together to build a better tomorrow. Thank you.